Hey, good morning everyone. It is part 4 of building a Klesh Guitar series. If you haven't seen the other previous 3 videos, definitely check them out if you want to kind of follow along with what I'm doing. So in yesterday's video, I talked about taking this guitar neck that I had sitting in a box for 6 years and using it to build a guitar, because I had it hanging back here and I'm probably not going to be using this peg head style much longer. I just wanted to kind of get rid of it. So yesterday, this peg head veneer was that black, it's like fiberboard or something like that. I don't know exactly what it was. It was given to me at a NAMM show about 10 years ago. So I decided to sand that off and use a black Limba peg head veneer to match the body. Speaking of which, we can unclamp everything that was in clamps overnight. We can cut out that 6-string asp, get it to where the succubus is. Basically just a hunk of wood that is cut out to the shape of a guitar. Okay, I've got the tuning machine holes all drilled. This one here is ready to go. This one is about 2 steps ahead of these. So let's get these caught up to this one. Basically, that means cut out the neck, the headstock, route the neck to get the profile, and then we can glue fingerboards. We have our black green veneer on this one with the curly maple headstock on maple neck. Here we have the walnut, black, green, black with a walnut head cap, walnut neck. Okay, so I'm at the point where I have to route the perimeter of the necks. So basically that template is exactly the shape that this neck needs to be. But if you look closely, that white line, it's about 1/16 of an inch that I cut it on the bandsaw, larger than the template. That way I have something to route away. However, normally on any other neck, I would go ahead and just route that with the router bit. Problem is, this is that neck that I showed yesterday. It has all that weird grain, and there's actually part of a knot right here. And knots, if you don't already know, knots are much harder than regular wood, and all this crazy grain and stuff is going to cause, it's likely to split out if I just went over it with the router bit. So I'm going to take this specific one and I'm going to take it over to the sander, and I'm just going to try to take off as much of that overhang as I can with the sander, and then I can finish it off with the router just to help prevent any blowout. Okay, so this router bit is too short to come up through the router table. So instead, I'm gonna route it from the top. And this is the clamping solution I came up with. It's basically just a piece of walnut screwed to the bench top. That way I have a nice piece of hardwood to attach the peg head to. So this thing is extremely sturdy. Now I just gotta run the router around it and repeat that process for all 3 necks. Okay, so all these are routed to the perimeters. Now this one here, we had a tear out when I was coming around with the router, and it tore out back here, and so I repaired it. Now normally maple, you know, as a guitar maker, everybody that I've ever worked with, it's pretty much, you know, maple is not repairable. If you damage maple, it's firewood. Well, this was, I wish I would have taken a picture of it when it happened, but this, you can see the patch. You can see where the glue is right here and here. It tore out a big gap right into here, and that can't happen because, here, I'll zoom in on it. So when I was coming through with the router, it made a big tear out. It split this out. And I was like, all right, well, it's firewood. But basically, I just took it to the sander. I took out a chunk, replaced it with a sliver of the same piece of wood. And honestly, once that glue disappears right there when we're sanding it and carving the neck, I don't think we're even going to notice it unless we're looking for it. So again, it's just a prototype guitar. And it's going to be on the bottom. It's not going to be on the top. Not that that makes a difference, but we'll see if we can even notice it later. I don't think we will. And if we do, doesn't matter. It's just a prototype. The next step is to glue the fingerboards. But first we have to select the fingerboards and then we have to slot them. I think I would like to use a zirconia board on the maple, the curly maple one. So that would look really killer. Let's see, the walnut, what can we do? So the walnut one, that's the succubus. It has a walnut body. I think I would like a maple board on that actually, just to kind of give a contrast between the walnut. You know, it's already a walnut neck with a walnut peghead veneer and a walnut top. It has an ash body. But yeah, I think let's lay it out with a maple board and see what it looks like. Okay, so here we have a piece of zirconia. This is maple. This is actually the sister board to the Manta fingerboard because it has that line that goes across that is on the 12th fret of the Manta that I just built. I think I like the contrast up here better than like the zirconia. I think the zirconia would be better over here, maple here, and then ebony down here for this guy. And then we'll try to keep some of that yellow sapwood in the fretboard. That would look cool, right? Okay, so we have our fingerboard here with that interesting piece of figure that goes right there. That's on the 12th fret of the other guitar that I built. And I'm setting this one up to be the same thing. This tape right here is so we can put super glue and accelerator on it because I don't have any double stick tape. And then this works just as good, if not better than double stick tape. So I'm gonna go ahead and attach that on there. We'll put this in the jig, we'll slot our frets, and we'll do that for all three. Okay, we have all three of our fretboards slotted. Now we can pin them up, register pin them onto the necks, and glue them on. That zirconia board in the middle, That is pretty much the minimum size you can make a fingerboard. You can see I cut that last slot right there at the end of the fingerboard there, and right here at the end of this fingerboard, and the width as well. It's just wide enough to be a fingerboard. So that's cutting it a little bit too close, but it's gonna look really cool. This took me about 2 hours because I took the original template and I laid it out, and I was like, you know, it just doesn't look. Well, the first thing I noticed was, okay, so this is for an 8-string. I had to make this a little bit more narrow, and then I started playing around with stuff. And if I line this up, you can see this side does not line up. So basically I shifted this entire thing back. Line it up. I shifted it around so it looks a little bit better, and also the neck pocket comes back a little bit more so that it's 5 inches from the back here. But yeah, I did some moving around, and it just looks, to me, it looks better, even if it's slightly better. So that's going to be the new design. Basically, it's the same design. It's just moved around a little bit. Okay, so right now we have to cut off the end of the fingerboard on both sides. All right, so here I'm laying out the fretboards. So they have a center line, and then when I find the center line, I put the template on, and then just draw a line. So I get a rough size, right? Thing is, with this zirconi fingerboard, I really wanted that sapwood in there, that yellow, this part here. And it looks like most of it's gonna get cut off. We might get a little bit of it right there. Even if I had it on the other side, I wouldn't have gotten any. That's okay. It's still really cool and swirly and awesome. So I'm gonna go ahead and finish laying these things out, cut them out, we can glue them on. So right here, there is a little pinhole. It's a 1/16 of an inch. And this is just some copper wire. I'm gonna go ahead and pound that down in there. And then I'm gonna cut it basically flush. Not all the way flush, but as much as the cutters will allow me to. I'm pressing down against it. And it gives me a little sharp point there when I clip it, right? So I'm gonna do that with both sides. So then we take our fingerboard, put it right where it's supposed to go, and then we just press down. That's gonna leave a really small little indentation on the other side. I take my drill and we just tap it with the 1/16 inch drill bit, and then when we flip it back over, it's gonna be registered. All right, so now that we just tapped the back of this with the 1/16 inch drill bit, that'll sit right in there. And then when we clamp it, this isn't gonna move, because the problem is, if we clamp this and it does move, that's an expensive problem at this point, like really expensive, right? So we wanna make sure that when we clamp this thing, it's not gonna move. That's the whole purpose of this. All right, so when gluing fingerboards on to necks, I like to use aliphatic resin, just wood glue, and only if the wood is not like a real oily type wood. Like this is zirconia, it's really dry. So is this maple. But when I get into like rosewoods and stuff like that, cocobolo and like more oily woods, then I like to use epoxy. So yeah, all we have to do is first of all, make sure our truss rods are in there. And you can put a piece of tape along here. I just don't have any. It's really not a big deal. That's basically to keep the glue from getting in that joint and hardening up, and then possibly making it more difficult for the truss rod to move. But if you're careful with it, yeah, you're gonna get squeezed out in there no matter what you do, but it's not a big deal. See that? Now we have those registration pins. We can just set that off to the side. And we're gonna clamp them both together. Now we don't have to worry about lining anything up. It's all lined up. We've got the registration pins in there. You can probably tell that this would be very difficult to try lining things up without those registration pins. So that's why it's really important to, if you're gonna have registration pins, this is the step to use them. All right, I like to get the two ends first, and then the middle. We're gonna put 5 clamps on here, alternating so it can stand up just like this. We got nice squeeze out coming out. 2 more clamps. And basically, guys, that's it. I'm gonna let this dry overnight, and then we'll take it apart tomorrow in part 5. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you liked it, hit the thumbs up button if you haven't subscribed. I upload lots and lots of videos on this channel compared to my main channel. So definitely subscribe if you're interested in this kind of stuff, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Thanks for watching.